YouTube doesn't think you deserve to know when new videos get uploaded. Show them they're not the boss of you by smashing that bell icon, so you can be notified when your favorite content creators are begging for your attention. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Cannon Fodder, the series where I give my hot take on various episodes of TV shows that I want to weigh in on. They're recently aired, still fresh in your mind, so along comes the newest review monkey on the scene to pick them apart. And in this installment, I'll be talking about Voltron Legendary Defender Season 7 Episodes 2 and 3, The Road Home and The Way Forward. Wasn't technically a two-parter, but it might as well have been, so I figured I'd cover them in one go. The Road Home opens with Team Voltron getting ready to begin their trek back to Earth. Without wormhole technology, they're in for a really long road trip, so after some brief shenanigans with them figuring out who's gonna ride with who, they quit wasting time and get on the move. They make a quick pit stop at a Blade of Marmora base, which has been mysteriously abandoned for some time, when they're suddenly attacked by a Galra fleet sporting newfangled weapons they've never seen before. They escape and evade for a while, but are ultimately captured, and the commanders of this fleet are none other than Lotor's former generals Azor and Zethrid. And that's basically the whole episode. We get a little comedy, some ominous foreshadowing, and the rest is a giant chase sequence. It's all very straightforward. I will admit, the comedy at the beginning felt a little odd to me. The team has grown quite a bit, they've got animals and friends to lug around, so who's riding with who? Wackiness ensues. Now they do milk some entertaining stuff out of this, with some of the paladins getting passengers they don't really want, but while I was laughing, at the same time I'm wondering, well, wouldn't the mice just go with Allura, the wolf with Keith, Coltonecker with Lance, and so on? Why are we changing it up like this? And I guess the answer is because the writers thought it would be funny. And it is, I just don't know how necessary it was. But considering how dark this season was about to get, I'll take the laughs where I can get them. The rest of the episode has a real air of confusion about it, where things are happening that no one can make sense of, but there's no time to figure them out because they just don't stop. It makes for a pretty tense atmosphere, with these souped-up Galra fighters pursuing them relentlessly and the team really being on the defensive for a change. And something the episode did during this sequence that I really appreciated was sharing the spotlight. Making sure every character gets a moment to shine, like Season 1 was so good about before certain characters started getting focused on more than the others. There's none of that here. Everyone is useful, everyone gets to do something, they make use of the whole cast, and with the cast as big as it is now, that's no small feat. The standout is probably the often underutilized Hunk unlocking a cool Bayard upgrade. Awesome moment for Hunk, and hopefully that won't be another case like Lance unlocking an Altean broadsword and then it's never mentioned afterward. Still waiting for that thing to show up again, writers. Anytime now. Anytime. The supporting players get to shine too. Krolia gets a cool fight sequence, the Space Wolf takes out some ships, even Rommel gets a badass moment. By the way, I officially love Rommel after this episode. What a ray of sunshine she is. I don't know if I'd want to take her on a road trip with her touching everything in my cockpit, but man, I hope she has a bigger role in Season 8 because she is just delightful. Honestly, the only characters that don't get to do much here are Shiro and Karan, but the fact that they can't make themselves useful in this outing is actually storyline driven, which pays off later on, so they really serviced all the characters here. It's an impressive balancing act capped off by a great cliffhanger. The reveal of Azor and Zethrid as the commanders of the Galra fleet is ominous and mysterious at the same time. There's no dialogue, we don't even see their faces, but there's so much that's conveyed just with the imagery. They look different, they've clearly been through hell since we last saw them, and where's Aksha? Why isn't she there? What happened to Aksha? It's a pretty tantalizing moment, actually. Overall, an action-packed episode with some intriguing mysteries introduced and a terrific hook at the end to lead us into the next episode, which I'll talk about right now. The Way Forward finds Team Voltron as prisoners of generals-turned-warlords Azor and Zethrid, leaving Karan, the Space Mice, and a newly reformed Aksha who shows up in the nick of time to free them. Along the way, it's revealed that somehow 3 years have gone by since the team's battle with Lotor, and that Aksha is not Keith's half-sister, but rather his future love interest, crushing the dreams of Clance shippers everywhere. Also, lesbian space pirates. So since everyone else got to do cool stuff in the previous episode, this time it was Karan and the Space Mice's turn, which led to such memorable moments as the mice freeing the team from their cell, somehow, and Karan taking down a Galra soldier with his crotch. Poor Karan. He tried, but he was a little out of his wheelhouse here. Which leads me to something I've been wondering about. What is with the discrepancy between Altean strength levels? It's been established that Alteans are very strong, at least they're supposed to be, but while Romel is no slouch as she proved in The Road Home, and Allura is basically like She-Hulk without the green, Karan doesn't seem to be for some reason. No explanation for this, I have no idea why this is, I guess the answer is that it's just funnier that way. Sorry, Karan. So yeah, Karan does have a tough time as he tries to reach the Paladins, but it is still nice to see him get spotlighted more than usual, even if Aksha does get the more dignified presentation. And that was really cool. Aksha's always been one of my favorite supporting players. It felt like the writers had been gearing her up to take on a bigger role in the show for a while now, and this is easily her biggest episode so far. So much is done with her character here. She's switched sides, fighting her former allies, helping her former enemies, not to mention her dynamic with Keith has changed from hostility masking sexual tension to a full-blown will they won't they. Called it. So yeah, it turns out Aksha's a little sweet on Keith, and he doesn't seem opposed to this at all. The Clance shippers on the other hand, oh boy were they pissed off about this one. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I might do a separate video later to examine it more closely, but I'll say this. I had suspected for a while that the writers might take Aksha in this direction, and when she suddenly becomes a romantic possibility for Keith here, there is a sensation of going from 0 to 100 pretty quickly, I will agree with that, but it doesn't come out of nowhere. This had been subtly foreshadowed for a while, you just had to be paying attention and not be blinded by Clance shipper goggles to see it. But I saw this coming, and I like it. I think it makes sense. There's an obvious chemistry between these two, and it's a neat little parallel to Krolia and Keith's dad. That's right, Clance shippers. Texas Kogani and Krolia were an obvious parallel for Keith and Aksha, not Keith and Lance. Fight me. And while we're on the subject of romance, Azor and Zethrid have gotten kinda cozy since we last saw them. Don't look at me like that. Galra hybrid lesbian chicks need love too. I'm totally behind this idea. Now I have seen some backlash about this because the producers had the audacity to use villainous characters for LGBT rep because gay characters must only be portrayed as good, wonderful, perfect, idealized people and anything less is prejudice or whatever. But the thing about that is they already kinda checked that particular box with Shiro. And also, when you think like this, you're not treating these characters as people, they just become social justice avatars, and at that point you're not being genuine anymore. I think it's actually pretty refreshing that we see LGBT characters on both sides of the fence here. Shiro for the good guys, and on the other side we have our duo of badass lesbian space pirates, complete with eye patch and peg leg. And they get a lot of cool stuff to do in this episode. There's a great fight sequence with Keith and Aksha before they get blown up. Voltron has always excelled with fight choreography, and this was no exception. And please don't at me that they die here. We didn't see any bodies, they're totally coming back for Season 8. But Team Voltron escapes them for now, and at the end we finally get some info on what exactly is going on. 3 years was more of a time skip than I expected, but it didn't seem ridiculous or anything. Them blowing up all those dimensional rifts at the end of Season 6 shunted them forward in time. Yeah, I can buy that. They'd already been playing around with space-time earlier in Season 6 anyway, so this isn't much of a stretch. It's also a great storytelling device. To the rest of the universe, they've been gone for 3 years. So the Coalition thinks they're dead, Hagar has had plenty of time to use the stuff she learned on Orion to level up the Galra's weapons, not to mention everything going on back on Earth. It's a really interesting spot to put the team in, because now they're on the defensive even more than they were already. The way forward is more story-heavy than the road home, and for my money is the more compelling of the two. I like the mystery of everything being different and the team not knowing why, but that would have gotten old pretty quickly, so giving us the answers one episode later was much appreciated. I also appreciated the development Aksha received and the rare showcase for Karan, whose comedy was a nice counterbalance to some of the darker moments, like our villains getting blown up and Pidge almost getting tortured. Although, as funny as Karan was, I'm afraid he could not compare to the amazing Pink Bayard fakeout. When that thing showed up in the trailer, so many people were shitting themselves, going absolutely crazy with theories about how this could mean anything up to and including the creation of a new pink lion, and turns out it was just a coloring mistake. Not gonna lie, I laughed my ass off. Nothing was gonna beat that. Well, except maybe that one Galra getting teabagged into submission. That was pretty awesome too. Overall, this was a very solid 2 episodes that did a nice job of establishing how much the universe has changed while Team Voltron was missing during the time jump, and how the Paladins are now seriously behind the 8 ball with no resources and the Lions in a weakened state while their enemies have only become more dangerous. After the premiere served as a bit of a breather for the audience, now it feels like the season is kicking into second gear. And we're just getting started. If you like this video, then share it around, smash that thumbs up, leave a comment, rock the bell to be notified when new videos get uploaded, and don't forget to subscribe for more Voltron content from me, as well as videos about movies, TV, comics, and more, and I'll be back real soon with the next one. Until then, over. Out.